Yes, welcome to the Time and Beat Speed podcast. I'm your host, Stuart King, and I'm here with today's guest, Valerie, who's had such a amazing life, such a harsh life, but has come through with such excellence. She has her own company in jewelry. She's currently writing a book. She has 3 master's degrees. She's studied psychology to that master degree level. She's completely into astrology, and she's here to do big things with her life, and she's an amazing person, I have to say. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast.
Yeah, you obviously the movie The Matrix it's all symbols and numbers, and that's basically what you when you reference symbols, that it's universal and it's infinite, in fact. Because once it's there, it's there. You don't have to translate it. Everybody knows what it is. Even if you do translate it, you know what it is. It's just an infinite and simple form of explanation, and your birth chart is literally that. But continue what you were saying.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And also because I studied linguistics, I understand, which helps me in interpreting the chart, the structure of symbols. So basically, how I see it simply is that it has a rainbow of meanings from 2 opposite sides to all the colors in between. And that's very interesting because you can interpret the same symbol differently.
Yeah.
So therefore, there's also infinite interpretation for natal chart. And I believe that we use our intuition to find the right interpretation.
It's interesting you say that, because obviously when I first did astrology charts, I was literally using intuition, because I was a bit lazy, to be honest, in terms of I would skim read information about planets, signs and houses, and I would literally just look at it and I would just work it out. And there is obviously a positive to that, because sometimes, like we were talking off the recording, when you understand something spiritually, intuitively, sometimes you connect with it more powerfully than if you actually have proper information and you download information and then try to translate it in dialogue. But sometimes when you just feel it, you look at it, feel it, it actually comes out so clean and so crystal clear that it's so much better. But I think if you have a balance of both, then it's I think that's when we're reaching the higher echelons of how you can interpret things. And obviously, like you said, everyone has their own interpretation. And do you feel like if you had a birth reading, obviously you understand your birth chart, do you feel like if someone read something out to you that you felt was wrong, would you feel like that person is just wrong, or would you take that on board because of what you said in terms of his or her interpretation is just different to way how you see things?
Because I became like a professional now, and I become a professional with everything because I just want to understand things deeper and better. So because I'm now into interpreting charts myself, I guess I see differently. So my perception is that every person, through interpreting natal charts, expressing themselves, like it's an artist's signature, right? Every astrologer has their own way of interpreting charts. And there is a lot of individuality in that. And I believe that some people are more spiritual than the others. Some people are more analytical than the others. Some people have different traits, different intuition, different wisdom, different everything, different energy about them. And everybody interprets the same chart in a different way. But of course, because it's the same chart, there would be some similarities, but still some individual touch. So I know the way I understand and interpret my chart. I'm very curious how other people interpret it, because it's interesting to see how they see things. It's like, I know myself, but it's interesting to know what other people think of me, right?
100%.
It's interesting to consult, to talk about it, to hear their perspective. So the same really with natal charts. And I get very, very interesting insights from other people's interpretation. And in fact, I feel that no matter how well you know your chart, can be very insightful and very interesting to know how other people see it.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you can ever know your chart completely 100%. I don't think you can. The fact that it's always changing with the transiting planets obviously is the biggest key to that, the biggest element of that, the rotation of the planets around your chart. But obviously, I know you've been studying psychology as well. As you, I mean, do you feel like you know astrology better or psychology better? First of all,
I feel like I don't know either of this enough. And I would like to know more. By the way, I'm currently doing some courses in astrology, and I'm entering a career in psychology, because these things really, really interest me, because I feel that you can do magic with both of these. Because as soon as you realize certain things about yourself, certain energies, certain patterns, certain things, you can do so much more and such different things. I mean, astrology already helped me realize so much more about myself, because I also have my Mars in Pisces. I quite liked your interpretation of it, but my understanding of it as well is that when you have Mars in Pisces, it's hard to find the direction. Because it's such spiritual, watery, creative energy. It's really easy to be like that.
Yeah.
Like in murky water. And that's how I've been feeling. And that's why I've been moving so much around, doing different things, studying different things, traveling to different places, trying to really find myself. And it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I've tried anything and everything, pretty much it looks. I studied different religions to come to astrology. I have 3 masters studying different subjects to come to psychology. I lived in 3 countries to come back to London. And it's really, really hard for me to understand. It's been hard for me to understand who I am. What my gifts are, because I have so many gifts. How do I pick one?
It's like my I'm thinking so many things I've seen your chart, and I'm like, firstly, like, your Jupiter's in your 9th house. It's actually part of your journey to be going everywhere and experiencing everything, learning higher level, spiritualism, religion, things like this. This is part of your life path. It's actually where Jupiter's the planet of abundant luck and expansion. Is how you expand yourself. So you are actually doing perfectly what you should be doing. And obviously with the Pisces, because I have Mars in Pisces too, the direction for Pisces, I believe, is service. I believe Pisces is, there are 4 service signs, the mutable signs: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. But I believe Pisces is the one that is actually here to literally surrender itself to service. And I feel like people who do have Mars in Pisces or other signs in Pisces, other planets in Pisces, need to find where their service lies, where their energy, because Mars is the energy, Mars is the planet of energy. And we gain energy from serving, from giving, from providing. And obviously you're going into things like psychology. So, that you are on the line, and you are on the way towards doing what you feel you want to do. And I also know your North Node is Pisces too, which is again surrendering to, it's learning how to surrender to, like, higher power. And you've tried to do that through religion. You now do that with astrology, and you're double Gemini, Sun, Moon. You're always going to change your mind. You're always going to be flexible. So it's hard to, like, it's hard for you to say, I don't know what to do. I think you're doing exactly perfectly what you actually should be doing.
I felt so lost, and actually looking at my natal chart helped me realize who I am and what I'm supposed to do as well in some way. And it gave me more confidence, because I really felt I wasn't sure. I actually saw what I do now in my natal chart after I started doing it, but it gave me some reassurance that I'm on the right path. And it's brilliant. it's so brilliant to see that and to get this reassurance.
The reassurance is so key. I personally never got the reassurance. I personally looked at my birth chart when I was younger, and I said, what am I doing? I actually didn't know my ascendant. I didn't know my birth time, but I knew my ascendant just by calculating who I am and knowing astrology. I knew my ascendant was Sagittarius, but I didn't know my birth time until only 18 months ago. And it was really hard to really get complete direction, because you know how it is. If you don't know the time of birth, it's
yeah, I know.
There's a lot missing, but I looked at your chart and I was like, wow, your chart is amazing, to be honest with you. And especially, sun, I think, was it Mercury and the sun in the 10th house, moon and Jupiter in the 9th house. But do you think, with the psychology, do you think, obviously it's understanding human behavior, do you think astrology has the same understanding of human behavior as psychology, or do you feel like it's more or less?
As I explained, it feels different. You definitely can combine both.
How?
I do. When I work with my clients in the future, I'm sure I will look at their natal charts as well to have a better understanding of who I'm working with. And I know that some people do. But to me, I suspect that astrology is deeper.
Yeah.
I do strongly suspect that. But you need to know how to use it. The problem with mindset, again, you give a fork to a person who doesn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
What can they do with it, right? So really, to me, it feels like astrology is infinite, all-encompassing, very deep, very spiritual, brilliant. But you really need to know how to make use of it.
It is true, because it's, I think, I get frustrated is not the word, but I don't know if you feel the same, but sometimes when I see things about astrology and stuff, and I think it's just so surface level.
Because modern people can't grasp the level of astrology. That's the thing. Why it is so out of fashion? Because it's not in line with the mindset. Psychology is more in line.
Yeah. No, I didn't think of that. It is. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Do you think modern people just don't really go inside? They want the quick fix. They want the helper. They want, to pay the money, do the job, and help me out. Or is it because they're afraid to go deep, look at their self, understand their self, and then bring that self out into reality? Do you think it's just fear, or what do you think?
I think there's a lot of fear in people. And I'm writing a book called Outsider. An outsider is an extremely courageous individual, and we've had such individuals throughout human history, who doesn't care about peer pressure and culture and all the nonsense. But it's a very, very rare thing when people don't. Most of the time, people fear for their status, people fear for their well-being, for material things. They are afraid of dying. They don't want to know what's beyond. They don't want to see the truth about themselves. Jesus was murdered. He was an outsider. I'm not allowed to say this on camera, but I know some other examples of outsiders who didn't end well. And people just can't stand the hurtful truth. And that's the reason for most psychological issues with people as well. I developed my own psychotherapy, talking to my friends. When you learn gradually to accept the truth, it starts the healing. Most of the problems, psychology-related issues, people deny the truth. It's too hurtful, it's too painful, it's too much. They're not used to it. There is nothing wrong with accepting the truth, but they're not used to it. If you push somebody to swim in freezing water, They will not want to do it. But if somebody's used to it, it's fine. Jesus was just fine seeing what he could see. People around him didn't want to hear that. It was enraging them.
It's crazy. It's how do you get, on a psychological term basis, even astrology, both, how do you get someone to actually, do the things that they need to do to release that trauma, or help them overcome with the truth, facing the truth, looking it dead in its face and saying, okay, I'm ready? How do you do that? How do you get someone? Because even with astrology, even with consultations, many that I've done, some people, you can, when they start to resist, and you cannot force it. I know that you cannot force. There are different techniques, but it is down to the person ultimately.
Yes, Jesus failed. Jesus himself failed to transform the planet. He failed to change every single person. Everybody betrayed him.
Yes.
So it's a very good question. It's really down to an individual, and that's why psychology doesn't always work. Because sometimes there's too much fear, too much resistance, too much whatever. In the most difficult cases, hypnosis is used.
Yep.
But a lot of work is down to an individual.
Has to be. It has to be for me. So is the nature, I look at nature and nurture, right? I look at nature as astrology, your astrology chart, your birth chart, and nurture as your upbringing, etc., your experiences. Do you think the nurture, your experiences, is stronger than the birth chart in terms of trying to bring out that best in that person, which is for you, in your experience or your knowledge?
That's a beautiful question. I didn't think about it. Thank you for asking it. How I see it is that natal chart can be both your success and your failure, but some people say that there is no such things as success or failure. Anyway, natal chart can represent anything, but you yourself with your life, with your experiences, either, I don't know how to explain it, but you can be the worst interpretation of your natal chart, or you can be the best interpretation of your natal chart. They both are already in your natal chart. But you, with your actions, with your free will, sort of choose which one you are.
Do you think like your experiences, let's say, for example, someone had like, a horrendous childhood, whatever, but their birth chart shows that they should be X, Y, and Z, and you look at them and they're completely not. Is that experience overpowering that birth chart?
Experience cannot overpower anything. Human may not take the right direction, I would say. In my understanding, actually, I don't know whether you would agree, but the same symbol in astrology can mean a few different things. For example, Mars also means a man in a woman's chart, right? Mars and Pisces could mean an alcoholic or a highly spiritual person, right?
100%.
And a woman sort of has free will to have either one or the other in her life, doesn't she? I mean, you can also look at other positions of other planets to determine which path she would choose, but you may look at her natal chart, you would expect one thing, but actually she may end up with another thing. Right? So that's the beauty of astrology as well, that it gives you this much freedom with interpretation. Some people may think if it is so broad, maybe it's not meaningful, which is not at all. Because I actually had examples when somebody gave me wrong time of birth. I looked at their natal chart, it wouldn't make sense to me. And they would tell me that it was wrong and we would correct it and it would be beautiful and perfect. So even though it gives so much freedom,
Mm.
It's still very accurate and very true.
Definitely. I believe, it can. I believe the nature of someone's birth chart, like, their actual attributes and everything, they can step into that type of energy. I believe once they understand who they are, like genuinely understand who they are, then once they know that, and then they can start to walk in that. But obviously then there's psychological things that affect them throughout, and maybe they stop and start and stop and start. But I believe that if you actually know your own source of power, if you actually invest in yourself and start to say, okay, I really want to understand what this is, what am I, and you study, you look at it, you study, there is obviously other things involved in your mentality and your mindset and your psychology that can prevent you from doing that. But I think consistency, if you are consistent in your studying, in your monitoring, in your observing your birth chart, if you're consistent in doing that, I don't think anything can stop you. I think once you just focus on it, understand it, and look at it continuously, you're good to go. And those that jump in and out, and maybe they think, oh yeah, I want to be a better person or do this and do that, and then they look at the birth chart, then they let it go, or they understand it, they think they know it, they think that they understand, but then a week, 2 weeks, a month later, they let it go. This is where I think it goes wrong. I think the birth chart, you have to be accountable.
Yes.
I think you have to be accountable for what happens. You have to say, analyze this, analyze that. I'm looking at this, looking at that. That's why I prefer teaching people how to analyze their birth chart, because that's where the actual, I believe, they say, why give a man a fish when you can teach a man to fish? This is obviously the better outcome for the person, because they will never go hungry. So, for me, I believe it's the accountability. And I think with psychology, psychology doesn't make you accountable. I think it does in some ways, but I think there's other ways where it's like, unless I know there's ways of structuring programs and things like that you can do that can make you accountable. But I feel like astrology is such a specific tool for you, that if someone structures something in a psychological level, that may not be in line with how you want to operate. That you might have to, they might say, write things down every day. You may not want to do that. You may not be like that. You may not be that way inclined, but if an astrologer understands who you are, they will know exactly what to give you for you to actually perform and consistently do something, because they know who you are, or they should know who you are. And I feel like that is the key, basically.
That's very beautiful, very interesting. And actually, I have something to add. My best friend had therapy for I don't know how many years. And then I offered him to interpret his natal chart. And he told me that I actually made things easier. This was one session.
There you go.
Than the experience he had with his therapist for many years. It really does help a lot to point the issues or whatever about the person, their direction, where they're supposed to be moving, the problems they're facing, the gifts they're given, and things like that. It really helps a lot. But on the other hand, I do feel that psychology also helps.
Oh, it does, yeah.
But it feels like, again, it's a tool that you have to know how to use. If you don't know how to use astrology, you will interpret somebody's natal chart in a way that will traumatize them. The same is true for psychology, right? If you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to help much. It feels like, as I said, we all have our own pattern, our own way of doing things. Every psychologist is in a way different. Every astrologist is in a way different. Some people go very deep and are very precise and know exactly what they're doing and are being very helpful, whereas others may be a little bit lost and not so helpful, or not possessing the knowledge that is necessary.
Do you think it's easy to, obviously you're Gemini and your moon is Gemini, obviously for you learning is, yeah, it's easy. I'm not, it is what it is. Geminis think it's all about their mental, and they know how they learn quickly. But do you think for, someone who's not so interested or doesn't have the placements you have, do you think it's hard for them to learn, or do you think it's easy, or do you think it depends on their interest, or could everybody, like, could this be, let's say, for example, it was in the curriculum, astrology was part of the curriculum, which it would never be, but let's say it was, for example, do you think everybody could learn it very easily?
I used to be a teacher as well. And I know that anybody can learn anything if they're passionate and interested. I think that it's very, very hard for a lot of people, astrology, because there's a lot of information out there which is not helpful, not useful, very rubbish, honestly. A lot of information about astrology annoys me. And because I have such strong academic experience, and because I'm a spiritual person, I feel that I can read between the lines.
Yeah.
And I can grasp the most meaningful, the most important information from even the most rubbish source of information. And I understand how overwhelming, how confusing astrology can be. And that's the reason why a lot of people are put off by it, because they cannot make any sense of it. And it's totally understandable. Because there's a lot of very poor quality information out there.
Yeah.
Basically, people don't know what they're talking about.
Yes. 100%. It frustrates me so much that I when I see things, so many things, and there's some good people out there, don't get me wrong, but just the rubbish that is just out there in social media and stuff.
They don't mean bad.
They don't
know what they're doing.
They just don't know, and then a lot of people take that on board and think it's just genuine and serious, and there's probably some truth to what they are saying, don't get me wrong, but it's just a lot that isn't.
That's how they see it. They can't help it. That's the way they see it, with their very modern, very Western mentality. Not everybody's spiritual. Mostly spiritual people work with astrology the best, I have to acknowledge. They have the resources to interpret and understand it best, because it's a very spiritual teaching.
Yeah.
To me, it's the best religion, because religion is an app that you can use. Yeah. Whereas when you deal with astrology, you're like an IT specialist, because you're dealing with the algorithm.
Wow, don't think of that.
Well, it's about the same thing. It's about spirituality. It's about your spiritual path. It's about life before death and after death and everything. It's religion, but it's the best religion because it is so personal to you. Yeah, I just love it. For me, it's the final destination after going through all these different teachings.
And obviously with your vast experience and traveling, do you feel like, obviously you said previously that you interpreted astrology in Russian. Is Russian your native language?
Yeah.
So do you feel like the way we interpret it in English is not accurate, or do you think what do you think?
Western culture is more materialistic than Eastern. And materialism is the furthest from spirituality. Yeah. Which doesn't help when it comes to astrology. Yeah. But what is great about Western teachings is this analytical thinking. So it can be highly analytical, can be very interesting. There can be some insights and some schemas and everything, which is helpful. But you need spirituality. You need spirituality, which I'm not saying there is no spiritual people in the West. There are. Yeah. But there is a lot, the culture itself is not very spiritual, which you can feel in the way they talk about astrology.
I just don't feel they are. I don't feel they are spiritual. A lot of spiritual people in the Western world, and that's why it's looked upon how it's looked upon. Is there free will in astrology, do you think? Or is everything destiny? I know you said previously, you can choose to be this or that. But let's say, for example, with the transits, if a planet is transiting in your fifth house, do you feel like you're destined to have a good time, be more creative, have fun, express yourself? Do you feel like this is your destiny, or do you feel like you can still have that whatever planet go in there, and you don't express, that planet doesn't express what house it's in? And that obviously that comes through you. Do you feel like it can happen? So is there free will, or are you just destined to do what you're destined to do? So if I never knew astrology, if you never knew astrology, do you believe you'll still be doing what you're doing now?
The truth is in between, because really the transit is in the fifth house, so it's somehow related to this area of your life. But there is so much freedom in there. What is going to happen that day and regarding this, right? There is so much freedom, isn't there?
There has to be. For me, there is complete freedom.
Exactly.
For me, it is complete freedom. I believe
I
that.
wouldn't say it's complete, because still
there's still an energy. There is still a frame.
Yeah.
There's a frame within that. But
yes,
you can do 1% of that frame, of that energy. You can use 1% of that energy, which probably you use if you are not aware of it, 1 to 5%. But if you're completely aware of it, you can gain 99%.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the difference. It's first of all, it's understanding what's going on, then seeing what's going on in your reality, and then putting the two together, and then utilizing that to gain whatever you need to gain, or desire whatever you need to desire, or need whatever you need to need. And that's the key for me, for people to be the best that they can be. Because when you continue to do that through all the transits, everything starts to just look very easy. Everything, I think it removes the anxiety completely, and the unknown, and the pressures, and the why is this happening, why is that happening, what's going on, because obviously we have other planets there like Saturn that are going to limit certain things happening, and restrict and control. But obviously it's all for your benefit. Everything that's happening is definitely for your benefit regardless. But there are lessons that you need to learn within Saturn. And I feel like people, if they understood that, maybe even if people did understand that, they still probably would stress and whatever. But at the same time, those that may need that to just say, okay, that's happening because of that, I can just take that on board, utilize the restriction of my fun in the fifth house, utilize, it's going to be, I'm going to be wanting, but it's not going to happen at this moment, or it's going to restrict me because I need to learn a lesson within this fun, creativity environment, children, etc. I need to learn something now, and focus on the learning and the understanding instead of the lack. And then when you focus on the learning, once that Saturn moves out of that fifth house, for example, then you have like a new it's like you have an upgrade. It's like you have literally an upgrade in yourself, and then you've gone through that period, that tough period, and instead of looking at it as this, I just want this to finish, you've actually enjoyed it, embraced it, and moved on. And I think, the free will is whether you do the 1% of that, which is the suffering, or the 99%, which is the hard work, whatever you want to call it. So that's how I see it. But it's so complex. I feel like, even the fact that there's, Vedic astrology and, Western astrology, the complexity, when people probably type in astrology online, they might see two different things, and they might see that, they're a Taurus or a Gemini, or they're Aries in one and then a Pisces in another. How do you feel about the two different astrology?
I feel astrology, psychology, and some other subjects are as deep and profound and require as much knowledge as rocket science, as medicine, as doing surgery. But people can grasp very superficial understanding of those and think they're experts. On the other hand, I don't know, it is definitely overwhelming for most people, I have to acknowledge. Psychology as well, because I know a few examples of people thinking that they're into psychology, watching some videos on YouTube about dating coaches. Why is it not working? What is wrong with psychology? Or going through some therapy and it's not working. Why is it not working? I mean, there's lots of reasons why it's not working, you know, because it's really requires a lot of effort and a lot of work to change things. It's like learning a foreign language in a way.
Yeah.
It requires restructuring your brain.
Yes.
Self-work when it comes to psychology, right? And I remember when I started learning foreign language, my brain would just, I feel it would get hot during the first couple of lessons. And how many people are put off by foreign languages? How many people never master foreign languages? They just give up.
Yeah.
There is also successful examples and people who enjoy it, but those are usually people who enjoy learning, who enjoy challenging themselves. But how many people gave up?
A lot.
I'm not saying that those people are not capable of learning foreign languages. Everybody is. They just gave up.
How long did it take you to learn? And how many languages do you speak?
I don't speak many languages because I have very interesting approach to it. I don't collect languages. I have to be connected to a language to learn it and speak it. I actually did learn Spanish, German. I actually did learn German quite well, but I never used it a single day. And I very successfully forgot it. The same is sort of true for Spanish. I don't use it and I'm forgetting it. I only use English because I feel very deeply connected to the language. This is my own way of doing things. I have to be deeply connected. Otherwise, for me, it's not just an exercise, not for fun. I can't force myself to do something I don't feel connected to. It just doesn't work for me. How long did it take? Entire life.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know any. I tried to learn Spanish, but I actually did give up.
You have to love it. I'm not saying that anything wrong about people who give up. It's just an example that if you don't love something, not passionate about it, it's hard to be motivated and it's hard to complete the task.
100%. For me, I think the only way, because I do plan to live in another country. I plan to live potentially Portugal, actually. The only way for me to actually...
An amazing country. I feel connected to it as well.
I'm completely connected. And I think, you know, they say that you in Chinese astrology, they, you know, obviously, you know, you're a dragon, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a dragon too. So Portugal is also a dragon country. So they say that when you go to the country that's the same as your Chinese sign, then you feel like you just
spiritual sign, by the way. And I feel that Portugal is a highly spiritual country as well.
Well, in astrology, it's ruled by Pisces as well. So, you know, there you go. You hit the nail on the head. But yeah, I just when both times I've been there twice. It's just it just ticks every single box completely. But yeah, no, I hear you. Maybe I didn't learn Spanish because maybe I didn't feel it. Maybe I wasn't connected to it. And, you know, it's true. You know, if you can't really continue to do something on a long-term basis if you don't have passion for it, or a reason, a real true reason or need for it. That's just how everything is, I think.
You have to be interested in something to do it. Like when we were kids, if we really enjoyed something, we would play
all day,
hours, all day. But make a child do something he or she doesn't want.
It's a fight. It's a big fight. You know what I mean? It's
the same.
What sign do you actually prefer? Do you have a preference in signs? You know,
people.
Yeah, just generally.
I mean, I do connect very well with Sagittarius, as you can imagine. I quite like Pisces energy as well. My best friends would be what? Yeah, Sagittarius and Pisces. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, I love these energies. There's some energies I don't connect well, and yeah, I probably think Sagittarius and Pisces. What about you?
Pisces, definitely. Sagittarius is
You are Sagittarius yourself, no? In some way, because
ascendant. I'm ascendant Sag, but I don't know. I just find I like them, but it's only on the surface level. I feel like it's only surface, which is weird. It shouldn't be, but the ones I've come across are just surface based. I don't know why. I like Scorpio. I like Libra as well, even though they can't make their mind up.
Not the signs I connect well with.
Yeah.
You picked up. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I've got like 4 planets in the 7th house, 5 planets in the 7th house. So, that's probably why. But yeah, no, it's Libra. I like Libra and Pisces, Scorpio, and Aries as well. I do actually genuinely like Aries. They are like I just like how they operate. I like doing business with them, to be honest, because I just know what you're gonna get. It's just easy. It's very easy. It's yes or no. It's I'm doing it or I'm not doing it. It's just decisive. I just love the way they just bang, bang. Do you know what I mean? I just like that energy, to be honest. But yeah, but all of them, obviously, obviously they're all different because
every
everyone's
sign
different.
Can be beautiful.
Yeah.
It all depends on the individual, right?
Yeah. But there is obviously that common factor in the sun sign. There is no doubt. I think astrology is personally the best problem solving method. I don't think there is a better method to solve any issue. I know psychology helps you a lot, and there is a lot in it. And I think with psychology, I found with it more so about the personality disorders and stuff like that. I found that quite different to most other things about psychology. Do you feel like personality disorders can be found? I know probably what you're going to say anyway, but do you feel like personality disorders can be found in astrology? Like, do you feel like there is certain signs or placements or whatever that person will have a disorder, personality wise?
Everything can be found, but not set in stone. That's my answer. Everything can be found. Personality traits, sexual orientation, personal disorders, issues people face in life, talents they've got. Everything can be found in there, right?
Of course. But do you think there's a specific to like for example, most cancers are going to have high emotional intelligence or some degree of emotional intelligence. Some degree is there. It's not like completely eradicated. There's some understanding of they're going to, whatever they focus on will have emotional intelligence regardless. So they might not know something over there that emotional intelligence, but whatever they focus on, that their level of emotional intelligence will be involved. That's what I mean by, is there like some indication of a personality disorder?
Not one, not just one. It can be different placements, different positions. I wouldn't say just one position of one planet or one house would tell me this person destined to have a disorder, because there's variety of disorders. So variety of placements can mean different things. I mean, whenever I see somebody has a house, 7th house in Scorpio, or Venus in Scorpio, I know this person may have some problems in relationships, for sure, for certain, because
100%.
It's a very
intense
and
trust.
And I mean, my mom, I didn't mention to you, but she has very, very serious disorders, not identified because she never had any treatments or anything, but her nakshatra of the moon literally says a mad person. Literally.
Can you explain this, because I'm not aware of it, to be honest with you.
To be honest with you, I'm not an expert in astrology myself, but I can try to explain. As far as I understand, moon goes through different phases. Moon is very important. Actually, also, maybe you would be interested to know what I think about the importance of planets. The closest or the biggest, the heaviest planets to our Earth bear more significance, more importance, because we bodily, physically can experience different phases of the moon, can't we? New moon, full moon, it affects us. This is related to astrology. We can physically, bodily experience explosions on the sun, right? Changes. This partly also makes some sense why astrology makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the explanations. Maybe we're not as attuned to feel it, but we potentially can maybe train ourselves to be more sensitive to those things.
Yeah.
Because we already are in some way or the other. So moon is extremely important. It's the closest object. It affects water, flows. We consist of water. It's the closest to our planet. And so different phases of the moon, they have different names and they mean different archetypes. Basically, astrology is also based on archetypes, and that's this connection with psychology in a way, and with culture, human culture. And the way we interpret information is through archetypes. That's the way our brain has been built and operates, which in a way limits our understanding of the universe, but in a way helps us expand on our understanding of the universe. So different positions of the moon, different phases of the moon, they've been given different names representing different archetypes.
Okay.
In our natal chart, these are represented by degrees in science of a moon. So you can see 6 degrees of Pisces or 11 of Scorpio or whatever. And you look at in the table and you see which nakshatra it represents. And nakshatra tells you a story of this archetype.
I see.
And there is a lot of them, 28.
Different archetypes.
Yes. So my mom's position of the moon is the most tense, the most crazy, meaning a crazy person. And that's what it is. My personal position of the moon is very interesting as well for me personally, because it means so many different things. It means a diamond, tears, new grass, and a storm.
Okay.
How do you connect all of this? But actually you can.
Of course.
So diamonds are under a lot of pressure. They're born under a lot of pressure. Tears, sufferings, they appear from a lot of pressure, but they clear us, they clean us. And storm is a natural disaster, but it also gives opportunity for new grass.
Yes.
For the new beginning.
Yes.
So I've had an incredibly, unbelievable, difficult life, as you can imagine. I cannot believe what I've been through. I cannot believe what I've been through. This is not a human experience, but it helps me to grow somehow.
Do you feel like your experience is perfect for who you are?
I guess, but I can't believe how hard it's been. I can't even communicate it to people. I haven't found the words. That's why I feel the need to write a book, because I somehow need to communicate this and explain unexplainable.
Amazing. I mean, how would you say your life has? Have you ever looked back at your life in terms of the astrology side of it to see why X happened and why Y happened? And does it make complete sense to you, or do you still feel like there is some things that don't?
In a way, astrology helped me to stay sane. Because as you can imagine, growing up with a crazy mom in a crazy broken up country by wars and revolutions, torn apart, it sounds like it's far, but it actually affected my identity, and actually I feel it very, very, very deeply. All of this, and it helped me stay sane. I tried to find something that would help me stay sane and not to go insane. I tried with different religions, and finally I came to astrology, because I tried, as usually when people try to find hope, when people try to find some sense of crazy world they're in, they go to religion, right? For some reason.
Of course, definitely.
Going through all of this, I finally found a lot of answers to pretty much everything and anything. Beautiful, in the most beautiful way, in astrology.
That is amazing. Obviously I didn't know that, and wow, I mean, so you're like the perfect example of how astrology saved you, basically, or helped you, whatever way you interpret it. But you know, I for me, like, I wouldn't say my life was completely difficult. I had struggles and everything like that, and traumas.
Of course, everybody does.
Everybody does. I couldn't imagine what you went through, just what you told me. Obviously, I can see certain things in your chart, but regardless of that, I felt like astrology helps me with direction. More than anything else, it just helped me, allowed me to focus. Where with you, it gave you freedom of an understanding of an identity. Really, it gave you an identity of who you are and what you are. And I look at your chart and I think, wow, like everything you told me you've done, there's no surprise. I'm like, and you've done a lot, and I'm like, wow. Like,
trying to survive and trying to stay sane. But actually, for me, my fourth house explained me a lot about my struggles.
That's what I saw too, to be honest.
What do you think about my fourth house?
Well, the Saturn obviously being there.
And two other planets which are not very...
I think, what was the other planets?
Let me see.
I think it was once.
I don't remember it by heart. There is also Neptune, and there is also Uranus.
Yeah, so with Saturn there for number one.
And there is also Capricorn. It's in the sign
of Capricorn, which is, again, it's in the opposition of its fourth house, which is ruled by Cancer. So, generally people who have moon in Cancer, which is kind of like your energy, if Capricorn's ruled in it, they generally tend to have issues with the mum, because the moon is the mother, fourth house is the home. Saturn, Capricorn, is limitation, restriction. It's the opposite. It's about the outer. The home is about the fourth house. Cancer is about internal. It's psychological. It's a psychological house, the fourth house, and it's an internal house. It's not an outer house. So you have this opposition within you, which then will create a lifestyle of the uncomfortability of home life, certain other things as well, not relationship so much, but maybe family environment, maybe the friction. And then you've got Neptune there, which is quite the word delusional I wouldn't like to use, but it causes confusion within the home, within your home, and also your psychological mindset. But then at the same time, it's a spiritual. So that's why you went into the spiritual world, the true spiritual world. You went into religion, try to feel that, and it didn't connect. Then you went into astrology and connect. Now you're in psychology, which is the fourth house as well, which is where your discipline is. Fourth house is about your psychological mindset. Saturn is discipline, so you have discipline in order to study psychology. So, but obviously the fourth house of home with the mother, it's a limiting environment, especially because it's ruled by Capricorn. So it's compounded by Saturn and Capricorn. And obviously there is struggles in terms of comfortability and feeling comfortable, but at the same time, you have Jupiter in your ninth house, which is it's kind of like it's kind of like an opposite to the fourth house. So even though you do have this uncomfortable nature in terms of your home environment, where you feel like at ease completely, you are always meant to actually go out there and push and expand in the world and discover and learn. And you will learn the best when you change environment. So in some ways you're not, it's like a how can I describe that? It's like a opposition, and they're both as strong as each other, because Jupiter and Saturn are the largest planets, and it's like it's an opposition, but which way do you go? And you should go with your own flow and your own destiny that you can easily see for yourself, because you understand astrology. But the change and the uncomfortability, I think, is part of your lifestyle in some ways. And I think you may feel like, oh, but when will the time be where I get to just feel that completeness and that comfortability, where I think there is going into your own psychology and really assessing it. I think that's when you will find the comfortability, because it's Saturn is always going to be there trying to make you feel uncomfortable. So you always have to like override your mind and etc. But at the same time, expand your horizons and move and travel to find what is there. And I think when you continue to expand your mind, expand your learning, expand your knowledge, because you naturally do that anyway, you're going to find what you need to find. I know it's like, well, that's not really an answer, but at the same time, it's the journey that you enjoy more than the actual answer. The journey is the key for you more than the result.
That's very, very, very beautiful explanation. Thank you.
It's all right. It's just, it's just about continuing. But you've done so much, and I think like, we get to, I think you're close, to be honest. I actually think you're close. And obviously I haven't done the transiting planets on your birth chart. I will actually do that, and I will give you an explanation after this podcast.
Oh, amazing.
But when I do your transiting planets, then I really like to tell you where to go next, because like that, it in a year everything can change. It's very easy for everything to change, very easy. And some people think, oh, I want it now to change, etc. But sometimes it's like, it's just the journey it's just understanding all the changes that happen. And when you see it going through, and then you gain the confidence of what you personally want. And I don't know what you personally want, only you do. But it's within the transits to obtain what you personally want. And that's what a lot of people don't even understand, transits completely. So, but it's tough having a home life that is really what you don't need, but you've been built actually with ascendant Virgo, double Gemini, to be flexible, to
deal with it, right? To deal with this.
Yeah, you've been built to be flexible. You've been built to be adaptable. You have, you basically all your, just like from the top 6 are all honestly mutable signs.
Honestly, I can't believe what I've been through and how uncomfortable life can be. I just can't believe it. It's just unbelievable. Yeah. But it's great to know that I've been born with, equipped with necessary.
Oh, definitely. All mutable signs, all flexible signs, like from your ascendant to your Mars, it's all flexible. So you have the ability to adapt, and like I think someone says it's survival of the fittest, but it's not. It's survival of it's who the most adaptable is, who will survive, not the fittest or strongest. It's the most adaptable, and so that's why you have been. Why you're saying, I can't believe what I've gone through, and I'm still like progressing, which you are. So because you're completely adaptable, and you can transmutate into whatever you believe to be. But when you follow the transits, it just becomes a lot more clearer. That's how I see things. I just want to ask you one more question, because you touched on religion, and then if you want to add anything after, you can. Do you see like Christianity? Do you see the astrology within Christianity?
Oh, that's an interesting question. As I told you, oh, maybe I didn't. Anyway, my take on Christianity is that I entirely believe in Jesus and that he actually came here and he exists and everything. But I entirely don't believe in what is being said about him. Basically, there's a beautiful book called, oh my goodness, I'm not sure what it's called. I read a lot actually, and it's somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. It's about a seagull. It's a bestseller book. It's a very, very tiny book, but I will send you a link later, or maybe something, because I highly recommend to read it to anybody who has any questions about Christianity. This book metaphorically explains how people who are not outsiders, they kick out this free thinking person, truth seeing person from their community. They don't accept this person. They want to create a lot of difficulties for this person. They can even attempt to murder this person. And then afterwards, they say things about this person in the way their mindset allows them. They've never been the same, but the way they interpret this is very different from the original teaching. So to anybody who has the spirit of Jesus, they wouldn't like all this, what is built after his life. Because Christianity is about being open-hearted, healing people, loving people, being highly spiritual, not materialistic. And if we look at Christianity, it's highly materialistic, very dogmatic, very restricted, very judgmental environment where Jesus was actually criticizing this.
Of course.
He was very highly critical about this.
Jesus is, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you know about ages of like Pisces. Apparently, we're in the age of Aquarius.
He was Pisces, and some even say that his natal chart had the biggest concentration of planets in Pisces. I saw his natal chart somewhere online, which you never know where it's actually true, but it actually looks like it could be true.
I would actually like to see that. Actually, I might look at that. But when he came, he was in the age of Pisces, which is spiritual, and he's spiritual. I believe. I don't know the Bible inside out. I haven't read it, to be honest with you. But what I've heard is that it seems like there's a lot of correlation with astrology in terms of 12 disciples, 12 signs.
Oh yeah.
Jesus is the sun, like the center, blah blah blah. It's there's a lot of different correlations. But I think with the Bible specifically, I think the messages are good ultimately. I think there's some obviously that are a bit, you can say wrong or bad, or or not maybe
they
current.
Shouldn't be Bible.
Yeah,
they just shouldn't be Bible. I'm sorry. Live with your open heart, use your intuition, don't stick to words, because as you know, words can be out of context, they can be misinterpreted.
Definitely. And I think if you just look at religion as a spiritual practice, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't judge any religion, but if you just do it as a practice instead of taking on personal opinions, like written words, as you said, I think it can be extreme. It can be, utilized in the wrong way, etc., etc. But I do think, I don't know if religion is based upon astrology. I don't know, but what I do know is that I feel like there is some correlation within it. But we've gone from the age of Pisces, which all this religion came up, which is spiritual, and now we're in the age of Aquarius, where religion is maybe potentially, in Western world anyway, dying out slowly, and we're going on to this digital age, this technological age, that we're utilizing science over everything, which you could say is it's natural, it's a natural occurrence and it's a natural flow. But I don't think we should let go. I think when we move through life, I don't think we should let go of the past. I think we should use the best things that we find from the past and then bring them in with the new that we're learning.
But there's beautiful theory in psychology called spiral dynamics. It explains the way human intellect develops. And it's very interesting that it's like yin and yang, like two opposite energies. We go through cycles, and one is highly spiritual, next is rejecting previous, then highly spiritual, then rejecting previous. Why this rejection happens is because when we find something which works for us, it reaches point when it's toxic, when it's actually not working for us and it's hurting us.
Yes.
And then we hate it and we go to something opposite, different. And we're happy with this discovery. It gives this sense of liberation, sense of things are right now. We enjoy it, but we reach the point when we understand when it's not leading us to good, it's leading to destruction. We fed up with it. We find the new truth. So to give you an example about spiral dynamics, first level of humans' intellect would be beige, which represents this animal-like or newborn-like phase, which is not even linguistic. It's all about survival. It's very primitive. Next is about family, and it's about spirituality and community. And it represents this spiritual thinking that Aztec culture had, that lots of ancient cultures had. But it would have its ridiculousness. I mean, it would have magical thinking, which is beautiful in my opinion, but it would have its ridiculousness, such as sacrificing people, for example, or being very limited in some ways of thinking or something. And community would overpower individuality. And that's when the next level is red, which is highly individualistic. It's all about me. It's all about success. It's all about power. And then it would lead to lots of wars and lots of bloodshed and lots of injustices. And then there is blue, which is religion. Oh, sorry, I need to charge my phone, my laptop. And this is about rules. And this is about commitments. And this is about restricting people's individuality again. So, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting how people are trying to reach this point when things are working fine. But that's very, 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 very deep topic to think about, because it does look to me that this planet is not doing as well as possibly could. And by the way, my understanding of astrology let me believe in karma purely through astrology. I didn't learn anything about karma outside of astrology. I didn't know what karma was, but it came naturally to me through working with a natal chart, understanding of it and its workings. And also understanding of infinity of the universe. And I developed a belief that we came to this planet, which represents a particular archetype, and all surrounding planets in this solar system, they represent particular archetypes, which represent tasks or experiences we have to go through and we have to learn through. There is no doubt that there is other systems in the universe with different planets and therefore different experiences that they provide for us.
Definitely.
And what I was talking about is that it's really, really sad, in my opinion, that Jesus had to be murdered. I don't believe in this crap that it was destiny. Nothing is really destined in a way. I feel a lot of sadness and a lot of regret. And in fact, I do not come from a religious family at all. But my life experience, my mom was an atheist, but my life experience somehow made me highly connected to Jesus, and his story and his life has been, I've been highly connected to it throughout my entire life somehow. And in a way, my life is making me fight for him again 2000 years after, because my life's been so incredibly hard, and I've been so hurt by what's going on and what hurt him and murdered him. I myself feel affected by this. And through psychology, I realized that this planet is actually not doing as well because of this story that is so well known, that is accepted, and that is affecting us subconsciously. It has to be rewritten with a happy end.
Yes.
Jesus has to be accepted, and he has to continue his way of healing, because when he was murdered, he was prevented from healing. He was stopped from healing. And a lot of problems and a lot of sufferings and a lot of injustices and a lot of craziness that's going on is still here. It's just in a different shape or form, and therefore it's not as obvious. But it's still here.
It's for me, it's very obvious. Obviously for you too, it's very obvious that this world is completely, I mean, I don't want to say demonic, but it's borderline. If it's not demonic already,
yes, exactly. That's what my book is about. By the way, I'm not sure whether I'm going to survive after publishing it, but I don't care.
No, just post it. You'll be fine.
I just have to do it to heal myself and potentially heal the world. I don't know. I just need it because I don't care. Honestly, I'm at the point when I don't care, because I can't have a normal life. I have to do something about it, right? And so basically, but Jesus represents green level in spiral dynamics in a way. And it does feel to me that humans, we are now in the orange phase, which is rejecting religion, more about science, more about business, highly materialistic, and highly pleasure seeking and comfort seeking. Right? And this level is, the next one is supposed to be green, but I don't see green coming. These people already murdered the Jesus.
They're trying to stop it, believe me.
They already murdered the Jesus. They're not going to accept him. It looks like they really want to jump and go to the yellow. And you know what? If you don't accept green and you go next to yellow, which you can do, you're going to kill yourself. Because the yellow is about very sharp intellect, which sees everything from such a far perspective that it really needs this Jesus-like heart and compassion in order not to destroy itself.
I personally don't think that they can jump the phase if because the similar phases that I believe in. I don't think they can jump that phase. I think they're trying to, but I think energy is too strong.
I'm not predicting apocalypses, by the way. But I'm not predicting apocalypses. But there is this sort of tendency to reject green no matter what. I've actually seen a few people believing that they're very green when it's very superficial. There's this sort of reluctancy against green, that this sort of war happening with green non-stop, because these people, this culture, they have this story very well known underlying our psychic of Jesus not being accepted. And in fact, if you look at psychology, there is this work with traumatized people when there is a time of exile. Person has an exile, and you have to accept the exile in order to heal the system. So outsiders has to be incorporated, not rejected, in order to heal the system.
It's true.
I mean, that's something I'm sort of thinking about.
That sounds like a great book. Seriously, I mean,
because I have to heal the world in order to survive.
It's like I said, it's service.
I have to heal the world in order to survive in it, because otherwise it's just killing me.
It is a it is a harsh world. There is no doubt about it. And the materialism is taking over everything, unfortunately, which is probably like demonic, demon, devil, whatever you want to call it, this social, the capitalism, whatever you want to call it. I think it's just going to the wrong place. And I believe also, me, you, people who are here to just empower people, give people, something that they can utilize and to become great. I think we are also there because I believe in opposites. Obviously, I believe in 12 laws of the universe, and the opposites, the law of opposites. So if there's more evil, it's because there's more good. And I think there are more good people, but it's just the evil has the biggest voice. I think the good people have the biggest effect. So, yeah, man, you please release that book, and you may need it. You know what I mean?
I don't know why I'm doing it, but to heal myself. I guess to heal myself, to heal the world. Let's hope I will survive this phase in my life, and it will be fine.
Definitely. One more question.
Yeah.
What do you feel about compatibility within astrology?
Oh my goodness, I should know, right? I've been talking so much about astrology, and probably you think I must be so good.
No, I mean, you don't listen. What do you feel? It's just how you feel. You can say, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
How do I work with it even? I mean, it's hard, but it is possible because I've given some advice to people and I've seen some things which seem to make sense, but I wouldn't be very, very strict. I do not see compatibility as a sign of your partner. I see some indicators in a natal chart of a person you may be attracted to or you may end up with, but it's not their star sign or anything. It's more about their description, their personal traits, their characteristics, and other things about them. But I wouldn't say you're compatible with Pisces, you're compatible with Sagittarius. I would say you're compatible with a crazy person. Be careful. You're compatible with an older person or person with a status or person with particular characteristics, something like that.
Fair enough.
How do you see it?
Well, I see it as you can only do it if you have another person's birth chart. So you have two people's birth chart. I don't think.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Sorry, I didn't say it properly.
No, I didn't get it.
I think, if you see two people's birth charts, I think you can see it completely.
Yeah.
And I think obviously the sun, how do you feel like when people say that, the sun sign compatibility? I personally don't think it's serious. I think it's more of a friendship.
To be very honest with you, I actually don't do compatibility checks or anything. I know that it works. I know that it can be very accurate. I know that it explains the dynamic of relationships and the things that people may experience in a relationship. Then from looking at it, you may see whether it's going to work or whether problems make it not workable. You can make such conclusions. I know that, but I don't do it myself. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been fantastic talking to you, Valerie.
The same.
You have immense knowledge in many subjects.
Oh, thank you.
And I learned something, which I always, in every podcast, what I want to do is learn from someone. And you did definitely teach about this moon, and I'm going to look into that, these 28 degrees and these different archetypes, 100%, because I have no clue about that, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's been lovely speaking to you.
Thank you a lot as well. And I can also feel that your knowledge of astrology is deeper than mine, and I absolutely appreciate it.
Well, who knows? But all I know is that, I look at your chart and I think you could learn anything what you wanted to do. Honestly, you're too quick. Mercury is involved. There's too much Mercury. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Where can we find you on Instagram?
Oh, was it live? Oh my God.
No, it's not. It's not live, but
Okay.
we're recording. So
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Valerie Ola on Instagram.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.